that's where I'm going with this. And these are my questions I'm going to be asking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's just what this project is about.
Okay.
And before I get into my actual questions, I just want to get an opinion from you as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Out of everything that's happened, NIL got enacted, I think June 2021, July 2021. What is your opinion on NIL? I know, you're a coach, you're a parent. Like, is it just, man, these kids finally get paid, or is it? It's kind of affecting my practice, kind of affecting my recruiting. What is it NIL mean to you?
Right. I think if we've all been in the business of doing coaching that for the student athlete, right? The betterment of what the student athlete needs to be successful. And I think at the end of the day, NIL was inevitable. At the end of the day, universities and networks and all these people have been making a lot of money kind of on the backs of these athletes, female and male. And that from that perspective, and bankrolling hundreds of millions of dollars on these young people's image and likeness. Sure, they've been getting an education and be getting free meals and getting all of these type of things, but at the end of the day, it wasn't equating, right? And then coaches have been making decisions, year in and year out, whether they were going to leave a place and go to another place for more money or an opportunity. So at the end of the day, I think it was inevitable that something was going to change and something was going to happen, and student athletes are going to start to advocate for themselves in that realm, and that's the country we live in, and those are the times that we live in where they should self-advocate. They should have the ability to advocate for themselves and their ability and what it is that they want. Now, how NIL is enacted and how it's being used is another thing. And I think that's, at the end of the day, I think that's more of the conversation that needs to be had in regards to how it's being used, how it's been enacted, and how is it still positively impacting the student athlete versus what we all fear from NIL, which is lack of having people finish their education, the value of what the education and degree is now, based on how much you can make in NIL. But I think that multiple things can be true at the same time. I think NIL can be a very positive thing if used the right way, and it still needs to be used in a way that still drives home the concept and idea of education.
So I like what you said. The NCAA enacted, obviously, NIL, but it kind of seems like their hands were tied in a sense because there was just so much backlash from athletes and parents and former athletes, and they gave NIL, but they didn't really give themselves reign over it. As you can see, there's a lot of gray area with NIL, states making their own NIL laws. So can the NCAA get more control over this? Like, do you think they just did something to just please people, and now that we're in it, they're like, oh shoot, we can't really control this
Right. I think the intentions of what was there was good to do that, and the intentions of the student athletes and the betterment of them. However, there weren't a lot of strict guidelines and policies and standard operating procedures that needed to be built around it first. I think the idea that it was coming, but there needed to be a planning stage. There needed to be I think, a process-driven way of putting NIL in place to make sure that there are also operating procedures and also ways to police it and make sure that it was being enacted in a safe space to still for the betterment of the student athlete. What we're finding out is anytime you introduce money to anything with no parameters, things can go sideways. Things can get out of hand. The context in which we built the idea of the student athlete becomes in compromise. And so at the end of the day, it's like, did we actually have a plan for this? Did we actually drive this the right way, with the right intentions, with the right education for the young people and the companies and different people get involved with this? I don't think it was obviously well thought out, and I think it's one of those things that everybody's just kind of learning on the fly, which kind of led to some independence for universities and different things like that to devise their way of how they're going to do it, because everyone's doing it in a different form of fashion. And so it's kind of led to more ambiguity and more people having ways of doing it, the way that works for them. And I think you have to figure that out as every university, as every coach, from the president on down, is how you're going to deal with it, because it's here and it's here to stay. And how it works for you and your university, and the people that the concept and the idea built around what the educational model is for each university has to still stand intact, and then so that the student athlete knows when they choose, for example, Howard University, they know the parameters in which they're choosing it. So there's transparency, there's honesty right on right from the beginning, And there's a general understanding of what's going to be, the standard of how we move and how we do things here from that space, not devaluing why you come to Howard, and that is to receive your education and be a graduate of Howard University first.
I like that you talked about the individualistic aspect of it, because April 7th, 2 days ago, that's what Judge Claudia Wilkins was talking about. It was, we're trying to get boosters, not completely out of it, but a lot of these organizations, a lot of these schools, they have their own collectives, and those collectives, they're not part of the athletic department. They're not part of the school. So when I use these private companies like Open Doors and Influencer, and these private companies to be like, okay, what's the fair market value for this guy? What's the fair market value for this guy? I don't have to submit those papers to the NCAA. I don't have to submit those papers to Congress. Now they're trying to crack down and really move collectives into the athletic department and kind of make it one whole thing. Do you get on your athletic director about collectives, or is it we could still get recruits? We have other means, or do you say, oh, we gotta build our collective now. We gotta get more money, because there are a lot of prominent alumni that have graduated from Howard University that would be happy to obviously donate money for anything.
Right. I think at the end of the day, it's all these multiple things, right, have to come together and work congruently together at the same time. So I think we have to devise our plan, which we've been working on ahead of this settlement and ahead of what we're trying to do here, and come together with our alumni group and our collectives and our administration from the top down and devise what that's going to look like for us. And we've been doing that. We've been slowly doing that and trying to figure out this landscape and how to do it and understanding the bigger picture, because there's so many different aspects that enter the equation, right? People forget about tax implications. People forget about all the other things that now Uncle Sam's going to be knocking at the door, and here comes another third party that wants their piece of the pie as well. So as you think this thing all the way through, there's got to be, I think, a methodical, slow-to-go process as to how you build this machine. And I think we've been doing that and just trying to figure out how that's really going to work in our environment, while still not losing what the essence of why you come to college here at Howard is all about. But understanding that the times have changed, the landscape is changing, and you can't do the cost of doing business now in this arena. It costs, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure it doesn't cost and us lose our essence of what we are as an educational institution first.
Like I said, you're building the program, and you're building it from what's going on and what's come out of NIL. And before you could tell your players, oh, we've got these initiatives in place, or this is what this has now become, you guys have to get educated yourselves. So is there like, obviously it's not a class, but is there like, did y'all go to a seminar or anything, or is it just 2021 is here, we just got to go check up on it, and we got to go continue so we can keep pace with everybody else?
All of that. I mean, you look at the origination of who are these new educational symposiums and things like that, that's just all coming to vogue now, right? Because there are people who are still trying to figure it out. And I don't think there's one direct way of doing that. So, you have, a company over here that does it, and you have one over here that does it. You have a West Coast company, you have an East Coast company. You have the new origin of third-party agents who are working as the third-party piece to help guys broker the NIL deals and broker transfer portal deals and those type of things. So it's an arena in a scary place right now for a lot of people. And I think the reason why is there wasn't SOPs, there wasn't standard operating procedures for how this is supposed to work and go. And I think the only way to capture it is to make it what it is for you.
Right.
Build our system, educate our people on how we do things so that we can educate the prospective student athletes on this is what it's going to be. Because at the end of the day, too, it's going to be about transparency. How open and honest you are about what the process looks like for you and how you're going to operate within that. And be straightforward and be transparent. We're never going to lose the value of what an education is at Howard University. It's almost $60,000 a year to go to school here. You're fortunate. That's an NIL deal in itself. That's a huge NIL deal in itself. Let's not miss that. And let's not devalue that. And let's not put that on the bottom of the total poll. Except let's start there. Now, how do we work back from there? And I think from my perspective, that's the best way to do it here. For us, we're at other places. How much do you value education? How much do you value this young man or this young woman having the experience that is going to culturally ingrain them and also keep them grounded enough to understand that, yes, I have value. Yes, you do have value. How you monetize that is truly up to you, obviously, but we're not going to compromise, your education and what goes first here. So, yeah, I think it's unique, and it's going to be unique for everybody.
And continue on planning, comparing HBCUs. Obviously, Norfolk State with Michael Vick. They just hired Michael Vick, and he was talking about NIL. He said how he's the type of guy where if you get money, go. And he was like, just go. We want to use. He says we feel like if guys are transferring from here and they're going to Power 5, that's good. We want to be a stepping stone. Do you kind of take that model, or do you want to turn Howard into their own powerhouse to where it's, oh, you got an offer from an ACC school, you got an offer from a Big 12 school, but we still can promise you education and money, and we can promise you a lot of play time. Like, is it a powerhouse, or is it just like Michael Vick? Do you want to be a stepping stone?
I think Howard's already a powerhouse, right? Though I don't think that has to define what we do and how we move. It's already one hell of an opportunity to have a chance to come to Howard University. I mean, 30-some thousand students apply, 3,700 get accepted, just year in and year out. So the blessing is the opportunity. We're going to have young men in our program that value that and that first. The rest of everything that comes with it is just kind of like the cherry on top. And if you can come here and your production and your play can lead to other things, that's for you and your family to evaluate, right? Well, I believe that opportunity, man, is out there. And if what you deem is a better opportunity for you, then so be it, man. We all live one life. We all got one life to live. You come here and you be highly successful. I tell guys all the time, sometimes it's better to be a big fish in a small pond as to just be as one of the many fish that's out there. But that's on you. That's what you see of yourself. How much do you value who you are? Are you a guy that likes to create your own path? Are you a guy that likes to pioneer paths? Are you a guy that, beats your own drum? Like, I don't have to follow what the trend is. I'm not one of those guys. I can make a path for myself. You take a guy like Kenny Gallup, who was just a two-time All-American here, All-MEAC player who decided to stay at Howard and be his own person, trailblaze his own path for his unique path to the National Football League. But he's also a graduate of Howard University. He also sees all of the great things that are just going to keep giving to him once you have to hang up the cleats and put the helmet away. He saw the 40-year-old version, the 20, 30, 40 years from now version of himself as to what he wants that to look like at an early age. And he knew that having the brand of Howard on his shoulders and being able to hang on his wall and those type of things were going to probably far more value him later on as far as than NIL in the moment. So every guy, I think, is going to be a unique situation. I don't think either way is going to be wrong or right. It's going to be what's best. And I think the autonomy of what NIL has done is like, hey, it's your decision. It's what you want to do. We're going to do the best we can to show you and serve to you what Howard can do for you in the long run. And in the meantime, and it may not be as much money. It may not be as big of facilities. It may not be whatever all the glitz and glamour and the shiny things that people will try to appeal to you, but you're going to get one of the very best educations in this country to be offered. And if you can do that and play football at an elite level, Division I level, and do it at a place like this, which you can't replace the education of just culture and life and living unapologetically who you are day in and day out without having to look over your shoulders. Find value in that. And for the young people that do, they're Howard guys, and we'll win and have success. For the guys who don't, I wish them all the success they want to have because they're entitled to that. So whether we're a springboard for guys that want to do that, or whether we're in guys that get enriched and engulfed in that, every situation is going to be independently different. And I'm going to support young people and whatever it is that they choose. And when they ask the questions, I'm going to give the answers that I feel like, from my perspective, that fit. And if it fits for them, then good. If it doesn't, man, I wish you nothing but the best of luck in your endeavors somewhere else. So I think it'll be unique, and I think that's an awesome thing. I think everybody has that opportunity to do that. But if they're having success here, we're probably having success as a team.
Right.
And if we're having success as a team, there'll be another. There'll be someone else. So we're going to keep it moving.
I want to talk about the latter part of that answer. I know you emphasize that's a parent decision. That's something you got to talk with your family, because I know a lot of NIL is, I got to take care of my family. I'm 19 or I'm 20, and I'm in this situation. But I know players come to you and still ask for guidance and still say, Coach, well, what should I do? Or coach, I'm actually comfortable here, but I got this offer. And I know you emphasize education so much, over this short part of this interview so far. So do you lean a certain way? Because like we both know, NIL is a very gray area. So is it man, if you got something you got going on, it is what it is, or are you genuinely leaning towards education every single time a player comes to your face? Like, well, what are you getting at this school? Or what are you getting at that school? Or is it better than what you get here? Is it the benefits we get here? Because Howard University is a very, very good school.
Yeah, very good school. And I think education is going to always be the core in this higher education environment. That's going to be the core of what we start with. And I think, as you build consistency within your program, as the leader of the program, as the head coach, you have to intrusively be involved in these young men's lives as much as they can and much as they will allow you. And a lot of them, you sit with their parents in the recruiting process. You get to know what some of the circumstances and situations of life may be. You get to learn what has shaped this young man up until the point that he is now. You know some of the barriers. You know some of the situations of what home and back home looks like. So you try to, as much as you can, listen. I think enough of us don't actually pay attention and take enough time to listen to what these young people are saying and sharing. Because when they share, they're opening up to have an opportunity for you to care and show how much you care about them. And every individual is different. Yeah, we have team standards and team core values that we ask everybody to adhere to and get to at a certain place, but every one of them may get to that place differently because of who they are, because of their background. But if you're not intrusively trying to get involved to know that and to be able to understand and help them move and maneuver those pieces, it's checkers, not chess. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we're supposed to be here to do if you're in this business for the right reasons. And it's always been about young people. If you're not here to, in some cases, serve them, if you're not here in some cases, support them, uplift them, help them to grow, then you're just working the job, my man, and this is probably not the job for you. So intrusively get involved, know everybody's story, know everybody's situation, so that when they do ask you for that type of advice, it's organic, it's real, and they understand that they're asking you because you do know a little bit about them, you do know some of their background, but you do listen to them. And if you got them at that level, they gotta, to teach, you gotta reach. You gotta be able to reach them to teach them. So I would say it always starts educationally as the core. But you have to take a snapshot in every one of these young men's lives, their thought process, where are they mentally with everything and what's going on? How much is that impacting their mental health? And if, it may be a thing where, we're going to help support you through this, but we're going to get you the support systems and resources and put them in place to support you through it. If we can't and understand that the situation may be too steep and it's a kind of a generational, a lifetime changing situation that can change some of the pressures and things you're going through at home instantly right now, then let's do that, because at the end of the day, it's your well-being that's at stake here. So I don't think you can pigeonhole yourself into saying it's going to be one story, one-sided, one way all the time. If you've intrusively got involved and you know what this young man is really enduring and what he's going through and what his family may be dealing with and going through, I think that'll shape, what your, advice could be and what that could lead to for him or her.
Right. And speaking on a broader sense of collegiate athletes now including your kids as well as other athletes, I know you've seen a lot of stuff with transfer portal. That's the big thing, the damn transfer portal,
Yeah.
The transfer portal. So I know you just said, you're a big emphasis on education, and I know you say, well, every guy has a different story, but is there a problem with the transfer portal? I mean, people are, well, I'm a freshman here. Now I'm a sophomore over there.
Yeah.
Now I'm a junior at somewhere else.
Yeah.
Is it like, you have to understand development? Not only that, not even on the field development, but you have to understand classroom development.
Yeah, process.
And you have to understand your education. You have to understand communication and stuff like that. So has NCAA kind of turned this into just pay to play really for everybody? Like, what's your raw opinion on that?
Yeah, I think, again, no parameters, right? Young people arbitrarily can make whatever decisions they want when they want,
which is
especially poorly led.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everybody has a mentor. Everybody has somebody that they talk to, somebody they lean on, and those type of things. So who's directing this young man or this young woman? Where's this advice coming from? Where's this notion that The issues that I'm having at school A, I won't have at school B if I don't understand that I'm the constant variable between all of it. And all I'm doing is uplifting whatever set of issues or problems that I had to endure process or to endure hard work or to endure the word commitment. I'm taken to another school, and that's going to change who I am. I think at the end of the day, transfer portal needs to have a guy actually import. Go look at yourself and say, hey, I'm the constant variable here. Is there an element here that changed? Yeah, of course. Yeah, you may have had a great relationship with the people that brought you to this university. Therefore, the recruiting process, let's start at the beginning. Why did you choose a school? I don't think God should ever choose a school because a person does a coach or people help influence that. Absolutely they do. But at the end of the day, you have to take that and put your core values into, do you see yourself being at that university? Do you see yourself, that university, having something that you want from it in the end? All right, so yeah, are the people there recruiting you can help you get there and feel like they can be positive influences on you and help motivate you? Sure. So sometimes I think, yeah, you get there and if you made it for the wrong decisions or the wrong choices or you were just connected to this guy but you want to make another decision, sure, all of those things come into play. Just make sure when you're going to transfer portal, you're not trying to run from something. You're not escaping something. Running from it will not save you. Sometimes you just got to see things through. And so having them, understand that part of it and understand that piece, again, comes from being intrusively involved. And that's what we focus on here. We want to be intrusively involved in these young men's lives. Therefore, there's relationship. And if there's relationship, obviously they're not so fast to run from issues and problems. And as long as you're not a runner and you're not running from the issue, you're not running from the problem, I can see the transfer portal being useful. But if it's something that you're running from, you're trying to escape process, you're trying to escape competing, you're trying to escape something to think it's going to be easier or better over here, I don't think that's where it becomes misconstrued, right? And I tell guys sometimes you got to be willing to endure. Be where your feet are, water your grass, and I promise you'll see the growth that you want. It may take a little bit of time. It may take you more effort. It may take you more commitment. It may take you more of those things, but don't escape process. Don't run from commitment. Don't run from why you chose where you chose. Because it got tough and you want to move, well, it's going to get tough somewhere else and you're just going to keep bouncing around until one day you turn around, you're ineligible, you haven't met progress towards a degree, and you don't have an education. And so it's all for naught. So don't chase the dollar. Don't run from your problems. Don't run from issues. But so it can be useful in some situations as long as it's the right situations. I've had young men come in here, and the only reason why they've entered the transfer portal is because they're a graduate of Howard University. Howard University doesn't offer their post-grad education, opportunities because they don't have the field that they want to go into. And so they have another year of eligibility to ask to go into the portal so that they can go get that and have out. Absolutely, my man. 100%. Those are all the right reasons. And I wish you nothing but success and go have success and do all of those things. You always come back here because you're a graduate of Howard. You graduated from what we had to offer you here, you take advantage of. And you'll always be able to take advantage of that. But the ones who, run in, well, I didn't play as much as I wanted to last year, tell me why. Well, coach was okay, so things that you don't control, right? Control the controllables. And you can't escape process. You can't escape, disappointment sometimes. Some of those things you have to go through and some of those things you have to feel to continue to grow. And if you want to run from those, I promise you're just going to find yourself in the same situation at another place. So you can't, you got to find sometimes a way of being comfortable, being uncomfortable. But if it's for the right reasons, I think the portal is extremely useful. It just depends on why guys are doing it and who's mentoring them and telling them what to do and how to do it, and truly not involved in the development of the young man or woman.
You lead a lot of men here, and you seem like a great communicator. So in this heightened sense of NIL, we're now in 2025, what does now a winning program look to you? Has it changed from 2020? Or is it still a collective 3.5 GPA for the whole entire team on average? Is it our NIL deals are over this X amount of money? What does winning for Howard University look like for you?
Oh man, let's start with it. Let's just say graduation. I want to, because if a young man comes into this program and he does it right for 4 years, the retention is what we're after. So retention comes through consistency. If you can provide a certain level of consistency for these young people, and they believe in that, most times you'll find the retention in them, whether that's retention of information, retention of their time and service and commitment, and seeing them through to graduation. So I think That's the ultimate number one success. If we bring you in, our job is to retain you, keep you here, keep you striving, keeping you finding ways of having success, and ultimately get you across that stage as a graduate of Howard University. How much accolades and how much success you have on the field, solely between you and your effort and your commitment and your dedication and you receiving coaching and playing hard and your love of the game. But I tell guys all the time, that's got to be universally wired. Who you are, if you're a competitor in everything you do, right? From the way you dress, the way that you carry yourself, the way you take care of your body, the way that you compete in the classroom, the way that you compete on the field. It's just your DNA. And if you're that type of guy, you don't usually have to search for success. Success finds you. So that's what we talk about here. And everybody's not going to be the same. Too often, I think we try to fit, square pegs in round holes. Everybody's not going to be a 3.5 student. Everybody's not going to be a 4.0 student. Sometimes, and I tell guys all the time, man, if you're coming in here and you're busting your tail and you're doing everything you need to and you're getting a 2.85, I expect you to be a 2.85 because I expect you to be the best version of who you are each and every day. Don't people watch. Don't, hunt for one thing. Always hunt for success. Sure, hunt to be perfect. You'll catch a hell of a lot of excellence in that pursuit. However, be the best version of who you are each and every day. Be comfortable with who you are. Be strong in who you are. And if that's a man, I squeaked out a 2.5. Man, I worked my tail off to get a 2.5. You know what, man? Now I'm gonna hold you to that standard, though. You better go do that or better next semester, right? Because now you set a bar for yourself that I know that you can attain, and it better not ever dip below that. Or we're having some other issues, and that's a different conversation. That's okay too, because things happen. Life happens. Life. It ain't gonna ever stop life. So, man, feeling comfortable enough to knock on that door and say, Coach, I'm struggling. That's okay too. That's the biggest thing because I know what impacts that have. Of course, that's going to impact performance and what's going on. So being able to walk in this door and feel transparent enough to open up is the big thing. And as a leader of all these young men and some of the young women that are involved in our program, I want them to know that this door is always open because that's what I'm here to do. And if you don't feel comfortable enough doing that, we're not going to get to the results that we both want, desire, and need. So I think be the best version of yourself. Whatever that is winning. And as long as we have enough young men being the best versions of themselves each and every day, winning football games takes care of itself. Right. It doesn't matter. It's not going to be a matter of can we. It's just be win we. Because if you're being a champion and you're championing your life every day and patterning your life after trying to be the best version of yourself, I mean, you're trying to be on time, you're asking for help, you're doing the work, you're challenging yourself in the weight room, you're going to bed, and you're doing all the things that it takes to be a champion. Winning championships is a byproduct of being a champion each and every day in your life and your daily walk. So the level of success is just do I have enough young people being the best versions of themselves each and every day, and that'll take care of itself.
And so it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like before you could talk about playtime and technique and stuff on the turf and stuff on the grass, you've got to go be king in your own life, off the stadium when the pads are off, in the classroom, even at home, how you treat your parents, how you treat your siblings, are you a leader in your community, how do you look at your brothers when they're down, stuff like that. But now actually shifting it back to the field, has NIL changed anything from a recruitment standpoint as a coach? Like I know coaches have, damn, we would have got this guy maybe a couple of years ago, but now, so it's like, has NIL changed anything from a recruitment standpoint when we're talking about the football field?
Yeah, man. Again, perspective.
Okay.
What has always been important to you as a coach? Is it always to get the best player?
Right.
Or is it to get the best combination of who that player is? Right? I've always strived on, like, I want to know the who first. Who is this guy? Because for every good football player, I've been around some really good football players. I'm fortunate and blessed to have, from Kyle Pitts to David Njoku to Kyle Trask to Kadarius Toney. And Kadarius Toney has his issues, yes, but you know what? Kadarius is also at heart, if you really got to know him, really good person. Really good person. But needless to say, you've been around a lot of good players, and for every really good player I've been around and known, the Alvin Kamara's of the world, the Josh Dobbs of the world, they were a better person first. They have core values. They have things that mean something to them. Could they all be, do you agree with all of them? No, you don't have to. That's the unique part about working with young people that come from all over the globe and all walks of life and have all type of experience in the products of the environments they grown in and those type of things. It's like, and they're all going to be different, but if they can communicate those differences to you and tell you, to their core who they are, they're good people. As long as they can communicate that effectively. Now, some of it may need to be redirected, some of it may need to be fine-tuned, but who doesn't need fine-tuning and redirection sometimes in life? All of us do. None of them are perfect. So, we're talking about imperfect beings, so let's work together with them to figure out what that is. But for every really good person, every good football player, there's a good person in there, somewhere. And they just hold on to certain things maybe a little bit longer than some people do or whatever it may be. So I think they all run hand in hand. So, I think it's just, again, it's the perspective in which you do it. We want to know who this young man is first, especially at Howard. We have a unique profile that we have to recruit to. Academically, are they capable? Academically, are they set in the core values of understanding education is important and they value what that is and how much that means to them? And if they do that, they'll value how hard it means to work on the field and being accountable in the weight room and being accountable to all the other program standards that it takes to be a part of the program and help elevate the program. They will. So I think where NIL has entered those equations and those type of things is, are we out here in the business of purchasing and buying players? That's one thing, right? If we're in that market, and nothing against what other people are doing and what people are receiving, that's fantastic. That's how you compete. That's what you do. Here, it's going to be still the person first. Who we're dealing with, how we're dealing with them, and then all the other things are kind of, again, like I said before, is cherries on top. Whether you pay for play and you're based on performance, there's incentives, okay? Whether there's academic incentives, because we're going to lay more incentives on academic performance than on field performance, because I believe that they all run synonymous together, hand in hand. One doesn't come before the other. And if that's the model and mantra that we're going to live by here at Howard, and that's what's going to continue to propel us to this level of success that we want.
I like that answer because at these big FBS schools, it seems like there really isn't too big of an emphasis on that, on the character part. This is just me personally, don't have to vouch, I'm throwing this out there.
Yeah.
Georgia University, they've got a lot of guys who are involved in a lot of stuff. So it seems like for the people that have a lot of money, or the programs that have a lot of money or competing, they're generally just caring about the players. But it seems like you guys have like a professional, like NFL draft approach to it, where it's like, well, we've got this player and he's great, but he's a problem off the field. He can't really, we don't know if he can apply himself in a classroom. Do you have any specific examples of a time where you like, man, this player is insane. I'm watching the film from high school. I'm like, this guy could really help us win, but he just doesn't align to what the type of man I want on Howard's campus.
Yeah, you have to do that. Unfortunately, you have to do that. And everyone deserves some grace. And so I think, again, you got to dig in. We've had some kids that have, maybe had an incident or something very early on in their lives, a freshman year. But if you're doing your job in the recruiting process, if you're intrusively getting involved and you're asking the right questions, and when you show up on this young man's campus, you're talking to people about what type of, he maybe had an incident his freshman year. He made a young mistake. But since then, in the last 3-4 years, he's been a model student here. He's a part of this organization, part of this, or she's a part of this and a part of that, and really turned the corner and grew from the incident. I think you have to allow young people to have made some mistakes, but learn how to grow from those mistakes and correct the behavior. There has to be room and grace for all of those type of things. Now, however, you have to you're careful. You're careful, and I think the bigger schools are kind of moving towards that model of what you just referred to as an NFL. They're hiring GMs now. You see people having these GM positions, and that is the filter. I think now that they know what they're kind of dealing with and what they're with revenue sharing and all of those type of things, is going to bring on more of that model and approach. Because we're still talking about academic institutions. I don't care what anyone says, and I think, you use University of Georgia as a model. I think Coach Smart is high on character. I think that people make mistakes. Yeah, you bring in, 105, alpha dudes. There's bound to be some incident somewhere, but it also gives you an opportunity to teach, to educate. Is there consequences? Yeah, there's going to be consequences for every action, but I'm sure. Those programs sometimes are under a spotlight that's sometimes unfair, because if you go around the country to any team that's got that many guys, you'd probably see some of same incidents, some of the same things happening. They have support systems on universities like university police and things for a reason, right? A is to protect the students, but B is also to provide order. Where there's going to be masses of people, there's going to be incidents. There's going to be situations. So I think sometimes those schools are unfairly judged a little bit on what they are because of the spotlight that's on them. I'm not saying that everyone is running a character-rich program. I'm not saying that at all, but most of them, I think, do try to do that, and I think that's a part of being a part of a higher education institution. So I hope that they are, and I hope that's where they're in coaching. But as the money and the revenue sharing and all those things grow, I think it's going to be important that those programs insulate themselves in that fashion where there is filters put in place, where there are evaluation processes put in place to make sure that they do the best that they can to bring in the model character person they can that also gives them a chance to win from a talent level, but also has the character to coexist and be in that community or whatever that university provides to be successful in an academic institution. So I think everybody now is just kind of figuring this all out, and now that the money has gotten to the point to where you do have to run it like a Fortune 500 company and truly be a CEO and set up the filters and things necessary to make sure you're kind of rinsing that process out and getting the very best, I'll look at it, the very best person first that has all the attributes and characteristics to give you a chance to win too, as well as from a talent standpoint.
And speaking on that Fortune 500 point, CEOs and GMs, they're there to look at their employees and see what's going on, and most importantly, to motivate them to work. So for when NIL wasn't in place, kids were hungry because they wanted playtime. I think I'm better than this guy, or coach's not really looking at me. I gotta work hard. Now that you come in and you can give a guy this much money, are these guys still caring about their development on the field? Do they still want to play hard? Have you noticed any changes from practice where it's like, man, we're not practicing as hard as I thought we'd be practicing today? Does it happen?
I mean, everybody's different, right? Every individual is different. I think if you reward certain things before there's been a action or a process plan, you're gonna get what you get, right? If you hand somebody a doctorate degree before they actually have to understand what it means to get one, of course you're gonna get a reaction and behavior from a person who got something that they didn't truly accomplish. They don't know what it's like they haven't felt that. They haven't gone through the process of what that feels like to actually capture and earn something like that. So natural behaviors, obviously, right? We're all human. There's going to be a natural behavior to being given something that you didn't deserve or didn't earn, right? But I think football is unique, man. It's a very unique thing. And so when you can capture guys who play the game for the love of the game, doesn't matter how much money they have in their pocket, no matter what you've given them. And if you have the ability to say, hey man, this love of yours that you have for this game, we can take away, they'll stay motivated to play. Sometimes some of the money for some guys is incentive. Some guys love the game of football. They have to do something with all that alpha energy that they have, and the love of the game and the sport and the competition that they have. So I don't think the art of that is not gone. It's not lost. It's just you setting up the right filters to capture those guys. Should they be monetarily, paid for, or receive compensation? I believe that. I believe they do. But there are still a lot of guys that play for the love of the game. And here at Howard, you play for the love of the game. You play for the love of the game, and we want to make sure we keep guys that are playing for the love of the game. Could some guys get spoiled and complacent? Yeah, but that's why you're there too as well. Like, help keep them humble, help keep their feet on the ground. Be involved and change your programming. And that's why college football, man, is the hours we work and put in is amazing. Some people look at the finished result on Saturdays and just watch college football and say, oh, that's what they do, but they don't see the 5 a.m. mornings to 10 p.m. at nights, around the clock, and even in the off season, the full 10, 12-hour days, because you got to be full programming. Because it's about education. Now it's truly about being a CEO. Are you putting together, programming that talks about financial literacy and the valuation of dollar and tax purposes? Are you putting together mental health symposiums where guys can kind of understand some of the mental stresses and things that come with earning or just the world that they live in and all the stimulus that they have right now? Are you putting together a program that talks about relationships? Are you doing all those type of things to build the man too as you go? And that takes time. That takes a lot of intrusive time. That takes a lot of hands-on time. You got to be willing to roll your sleeves up and get involved with the people that you're trying to impact. This job it's Sunday to Sunday, 365 all the time. And if you don't love it, it ain't for the faint of heart. And NIL and the transfer portal and all those things have just made us have to be more creative and actually, honestly, work harder and think out of the box on how to effectively impact the young men that are on our rosters and in our care at these moments. So it's honestly caused people to really investigate their why as a coach. Why do you do what you do? And if you're doing it for the right reasons, this environment doesn't scare you. This new trend and what's going on in college sports you don't have any fear of it, because this is what you're here to do. If you're here for other reasons, it has broken some coaches and will continue to break some coaches that aren't in it for the right reasons because it's too hard.
And wow, I mean, you said my next questions, you literally said them, and you mentioned your why. And we've seen a lot of coaches remove themselves from their teams. Is that because they can't develop players, or they can't control them, or are they mad that they're receiving compensation? Because like you said, if you genuinely enjoy development and you genuinely enjoy your kids, this place right here, you seem very, very calm about NIL.
Yeah.
Ever since it was enacted, you seem very calm. So I know you probably don't go to your athletic director like yo, we need more money. Like that.
No.
Those conversations probably don't happen. I mean, you can tell me if they do, but they probably don't.
Yeah.
It seems like you genuinely have a why for development, and once you focus on that development, like you said, when it comes to the field, everything is gonna follow. You're never gonna we're focusing on development, so we're gonna really lose recruits, and we're really gonna get worse as a team.
No.
So what is it for those coaches, and what is it for you for the future, for the next 5 years of Howard University football?
Yeah, obviously you want to stay competitive. You're right. And for me, Howard is it's called the Mecca for a reason, right? It's called that for a reason. It's called a dream factory for a reason, right? So at the end of the day, we have to. Why can't we be synonymous and excellent across the board with everything that's going on? Are we going to do the same things that everyone else is doing and all those things? No, but we have to do something, right? To sit back and not do anything is chaotic. That's prehistoric.
Right.
No one can do that anymore, especially in higher education. Nobody. No lab technician, no president, no AVP. No one can just sit on their hands and continue to do things the way that they used to do it. The market is changing. The generations are changing. Young people are changing. And ways in which we teach people are changing. Laws are changing. We have to change, And I say this to my staff, and I say it to people all the time, and they'll tell you. I say most times young people don't screw things up. It's adult people that do. It's adult people they do. They're not willing to get out of their way. They're stubborn. They're untraditional. They don't see out of the box, and so they really need to evaluate is this for them, or they just working a job. Okay, I've been here 30 years. Okay, you've been here 30 years, and this is the way we've always done it. Think about that for 1 second. In higher education, you'll say to someone, I've been in a job for 30 years, and this is the way we've always done it. If you actually break that down as a semi-educated person, that doesn't even sound like it's the right thing to say, right? Now, people have to be inventive. You have to think out of the box. Do you have to lose your core value? No. Do you have to lose the standard in which you want to hold things to, yourself to, and people to? No. What you have to do is come out of the box and creatively understand that there's different ways and avenues and aspects to get to the same result. And if you're not exploratory enough, if you're not communicative enough, if you're not open enough to understanding what that is, if you don't listen enough to what you can do, you're through growing. And if you're through growing, it's time to move on and pass the torch on to someone else who's going to come in and have creative ideas and thoughts and different ways to get to the same results that we all strive to get to. And that's helping young people be successful. So here that's what we kind of, the focus is on, and you kind of stay on that. Is it always right? No. Is it sometimes I have to listen and strain through it? Yeah, but I'm here for the right. I'm here, I believe, because of a calling. A lot of people said when I left the University of Florida that, hey man, why are you doing that? That's career suicide. You've been on a fast track in college football, but I got into college football because of what a coach did for me and the impact he left on my life. So my reasons of doing what I do and why I do it are much different than some. And I think guys that get into it for the wrong reasons, they experience burnout. You're going to, because it takes a lot of love and passion for what you're doing each and every day, and it can't be a job. And for me, this is not a job. This is a life's work. I come from a very spiritual background and struggled a long time because it's like, hey, I don't get to church as much as I want to. I don't get to do that as much as I want to. And I have some ministers. My mom's a minister. I have ministers in my family, and the people that really care about me is like, are you kidding me? You're working your ministry every day. We wish we had the opportunity that you do to work with young people, to have influence on young people, to leave impact on young people, and do it in a way that's spiritually driven each and every day. So from that, I changed my whole perspective on that. Man, I get a chance to come do what I've been chosen to do each and every day. And how many people get a chance to do that? Not many. So I'm fortunate. I'm lucky. I don't give a damn what level or what place you do it at. You're fortunate when you have this opportunity to have young men look back at you and say, coach me, coach, coach me. Mentor me, coach, mentor me. Become a friend, coach, become a friend. Because later on, those are relationships that I still have. I mean, I've had young men that I've coached 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago that you still keep in touch with, and you watch them and their families growing. It's impact. And so when you have an awesome opportunity like that, man, that is truly a blessing, and it's a blessing that I don't take for granted each and every day I get a chance to do it. So I don't think I'll be one of those guys that experience that type of burnout. I don't know about what the landscape is and how it's changing. I just want to ride the wave and change and grow with it as it goes, and not lose sight of the impact and not lose sight of the standards, and not lose sight of core values and those type of things, because you can get to all the same things just in a different way.
And continuing with the coaching point, do you get angry when you got, like, I see your board over there? Do you get angry when you look at your board and you're like, okay, I've got my squad and this looks really good, and then one of your guys is gone?
Mm-hmm.
As a coach, how does, even if it's for a good decision or if it's a bad decision, as a coach, how do you then pivot
Mm-hmm.
in this day and age? Do you go portal real quick, or do you, all right, this dude's got to step up now? Which way do you pivot? Because that's where coaches, they stopped. They realized, wow, these guys are just going, I'm done coaching, and they just left the program.
Yeah.
Is it, obviously that doesn't happen with you, so how do you pivot that situation?
Man, it's really a kind of a delicate situation sometimes, because what NIL and transfer portal has done is introduce the business side to it for everybody, for not only the player, but for the coaches. And if you take on, I know a lot of guys at certain schools and certain universities have a different set of pressure to win, and win now, than most places. Salaries and different things. You got guys making $8 million a year as a coach, and there's an awful lot of pressure that comes with that $8 million to win, and win now. And how much of that pressure are you willing to give into to change the standards of who you are and what you truly believe in? So it does come at times where you have, now I got to make a business decision for the betterment of the program, the betterment of our organization, and the betterment of the team. So there's this moral thing you go through. You go back and forth. Of course, at first, especially if you've been really invested in a young man, you really done a great job developing you and your staff, and he buying into it, and his family, everybody's bought into the development of him, and there's been a lot of time and sacrifice put into that. And they just walk in one day and say, hey, I'm going on to the next. Of course, man, that's natural. That's human nature. Let's not kid ourselves. There's going to be a human reaction of whether that's anger or whether that's frustration. I try to always keep it in perspective. I always try to say, you know what, that's what I'm chosen to do here. And if that leads to this young man having another opportunity, that opportunity might have been what I was placed in his life to do. And then try to rinse it back, I try as much as you can. Naturally, there's a reaction, right? I'm not saying that, there's no one's around here, Jesus Christ, and got all the patience of, all the lambs and all. And no, that doesn't necessarily happen all the time that way. There is a level of sometimes frustration and being upset and those type of things, and that come with it. But however, with that comes the opportunity, and that's what you love to have. You love to see too, because now it's an opportunity for a young man that's been in your program to develop, that you've been developing to take a step. I've seen those situations where all of a sudden, a piece removes itself, and another piece steps in, and now this person just goes and actually exceeds that other person's ability and level, They just needed a chip to move. They just needed something to get out of the way. And it's amazing to watch. It's like, wow. And they know you had all of that in you. But sometimes just the variables of changing pieces elevate other people. It also creates opportunity. It creates space for, we've had situations where we don't necessarily go to the portal. We can't take a lot of transfers here at Howard, so for us, it's always going to be either a first-year, one-year transfer guy, or a guy that's already a grad that has 2 years of eligibility, and that's our market because a young man's looking at, wait a minute, I just graduated from the University of Memphis, or I just graduated from Georgetown. I just graduated from Harvard. We have a young man who graduated from Harvard, has 2 years of eligibility, and he's looking at the opportunity like, whoa, I have an undergrad from Harvard, and I can go get my MBA from Howard for free, right? So look, someone removing themselves created an opportunity for a young man to receive an MBA. And you watch the transformation as a coach, but in a place like this where you get to see those type of opportunities happen, and you go, and sometimes things removing themselves actually adds. So you have to almost, especially when people make those arbitrary decisions for what they feel like is best for them, all you did was provide a space and an opportunity for someone else. And so as a coach, you have to try to keep it in that perspective, especially when you have young men in the program that have been working really hard, and here's an opportunity for you to step up, next man up, right? Or we got a chance to fill a hole and maybe use the transfer portal, but a graduate who's already graduated from a university that's going to come in with a plan. If we're going to bring a 22, 23, sometimes 24-year-old young man into this program, he better have his head on straight and kind of got a plan for what it is that he wants to achieve over this next 2-year period. And so you have a chance to get a little bit more maturity in your locker room, a little bit more guy that can be a steering example for a young freshman or a young sophomore and become a mentor for that player. A mentorship. We got a leadership committee of 16 guys that range across the scope because of the impact you want to have in the locker rooms from peer to peer. And some of those guys are graduates. Some of those guys already have the degree and they're educating and helping a young sophomore figure it out. But they're being an example both physically and mentally as to what that looks like. And you can provide a very, an environment of growth for your football team too. So I think at the end of the day, sometimes addition comes through subtraction. And you have to take a moment as a coach and pause and consider where are the positives. I'm not going to extenuate the negatives. I'm going to find the positive in what this could impact and what impact we could have and what opportunities this could lead to. So there's kind of levels you go through with it sometimes, especially if it's a player that you spend a lot of time with in development. He was an impact player. Sure, it's just time for somebody else now to take that reign, and it may come through a graduate transfer, or it may come through a young man just taking a step in your program. So it just leaves an opportunity.
And we're closing in on an hour, so I want to shift my focus to my biggest problem in my project, and my biggest problem with this whole entire NIL thing, is the NCAA. Coach, in your opinion, what are these guys doing? Like, they're pushing so much stuff out, and they're pushing so much money out, and it's like they're just blind. It's like they're just blind to, well, we don't know where the money's going. We don't know where this is going. And it affects your job. It affects coaches around America.
Yeah.
Because now the sport where you want to implement trust and development and character for young men and education, it's turning into pay to play. And it's not really what it's supposed to do. So can the NCAA do anything? Because now individual states have their own NIL laws about, okay, well, we're going to do this. And you already know, as soon as they implemented in 2021, the powerhouse states like Georgia, Louisiana, Alabama, they all said, all right, we're going to get our own NIL law so we can stay on top. And you come from Florida where they're an SEC powerhouse. So what is the NCAA doing, and how can they gain back control? Because the April 7th hearing wasn't as impactful as I guess most people thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's really just a stepping stone to further issues.
And I think that's the crux of the whole matter, right? The crux of the matter is that, man, there's all these attempts, and nobody really knows what's going on and how it's happening. And I think some of the attempts come with good intentions for the student athletes, but they don't understand the repercussions and consequences that come with that, right? And so as these changes are happening and being enacted, I think they're coming in and they're happening without, again, operating procedures and how that's going to go. What they've done is saying, hey, we're going to wash our hands with it. We're going to approve it, but we're going to leave it in the hands of the state government. We're going to leave it in the hands of states, and then the states are going out. We're going to leave it in the hands of the universities. So everybody's kind of passing the buck, so to speak, down the line. And so when it ends up, everything always ends up at ground level. All the time. I don't care whatever decision is ever made at the top. There's always going to be a loosening of the policies and all those type of things for people with their boots on the ground to actually deal with the issues, the problems, and the fallout and the consequences. So I think as long as you kind of understand that, and there's no governing body, like the governing, okay, so you've said now we can legally do this within what parameters, okay? Nobody thought about what those parameters are, so it's kind of a little bit of a loose interpretation, and so you have some universities doing what the hell they want to do, and some states saying, we don't care. And so you have a whole lot of that going on. I think you have to, like I said at the beginning, your administration, your people, your president, your university has to adopt what that looks like for them. What are we willing to compromise and not willing to compromise, and stick to that. And this is what the cost of doing business is at Howard. This is what you receive in the cost of doing business at Howard. And stick to that. And in the end, build a model around what you do not compromise to be successful. And then what we deem as success is what we deem as success. And don't worry about the rest of the world and what's going on around us. We're going to water our grass. We're going to be where our feet are. We're going to follow our model of success. We're going to graduate our student athletes. We're going to win championships. And we're going to do it the Howard way. And I think that's what you see around the country. We're going to do it the Florida SEC way. The amount of money they're talking about revenue sharing is mind-boggling, the amount of money. But I think each and every one of them are going to have a model of how that works for them. And hopefully that brand, that Georgia brand of whatever it is, that Florida brand of Texas brand, whatever it is what they're going to have to build up with what they compromise and don't compromise as a university in higher education and in the higher development of people and football programs and those type of things, and stick to it and go with it. And just as we are here at Howard, I'm sure just as Florida A&M is going to have to do, just as Hampton's just going to have to do, just as Norfolk's going to have to do, everybody's going to have to pick what those things are, stick to those things, and build a model of the people, the coaches, the infrastructure, and all those things that are around that to not compromise what they want that to be for our brand, for the Howard brand. And I know one thing is always going to start with education for us and higher education for us. So I think that's the best that that's the best that we can do. And that's what I think what we're all charged with right now in this environment of just like uncertainty and not really knowing. We have to lay some parameters and stick to those and go do what we do best and be the best version of what we can be each and every day.
Last question, Coach. In this NIL era, what keeps you up at night when you're not here? You're probably here every single. I mean, you're probably here for hours upon hours.
Yeah.
But when you finally get to be in your car by yourself and drive home. This interview was very, very calm, and you have you know what you want to do with your program, and the congruence between you and your AD and everybody and your players, it seems spot on. Is there anything that's still a bit murky for you when it comes to this new NIL era? And this is
a really good question, and I'm gonna give you a true answer on it. Okay. I don't want young people to feel inferior because they choose HBCU. That's what keeps me up at night. And it's kind of like, they shouldn't be made to feel inferior, right? Or have to choose less than, or continue to say, I have to feel less than to be successful, or I have to keep using traumatic experiences and trauma and not having to propel me to success. Why? Do they have to be compensated and given everything that they see at every other place? No. I think there has to be something. Whether that comes through continued internship opportunities, through obviously finances and incentives and those type of things, brand building, all of those things. I think they should always be given the opportunity to not be made inferior because that's what they choose. And I think that's the biggest thing that keeps me up. Like, yeah, this young man's going to choose Howard. But I don't want him to feel inferior to his peers or anyone else for choosing what he chooses. Yeah, sure, there's all the historically black college traditional value. and all of those type of things. But we can't always just keep hanging our hat on the old notion that this is that. Yes, that's that, and it's going to be sound, and it's very true. But multiple things can be true at the same time. And in the new environment in which we operate and move in, it's okay to say, I may be choosing a little bit less money. I'm choosing more culture. I'm choosing my education. I'm choosing all these, and those things are the things that we hold on to that are traditional values of choosing HBCU, right? Culture, people that care about you, family, love. Yeah, you can choose all of that and be incentivized too, all at the same time, to do something great in this new landscape, because that's what's happening everywhere. So it's happening across the grand scope. We shouldn't have to be out of the scope and feel like we're choosing something inferior to our peers or anybody else because I'm choosing historically black colleges and universities. And I think that's where I struggle a little bit, and that's what keeps me up. I don't want our people, our young men, our student athletes, our young men and women to feel inferior because that's what they choose. Except I want them to feel empowered, right? And there is a sense of choosing HBCU and empowerment and what that means for you. Doesn't mean that you don't get to deserve, you know, for your brand and for your likeness to still be recognized as well. And it should be, probably even more. That's what keeps me up.
And this isn't a question, I'm just continuing the conversation. I like what you're talking about, because you were talking about the parents, and you said young people aren't stupid, and it's usually the parents, and that's could be the solution, or not the solution, but the crux of the issue, and using your word is, what if these parents are incentivizing these children in a wrong way to follow more of the money? Then that's obviously, you know, you're trading, not saying you're trading on your own people, that's too strong, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, you have a perfectly good program with an amazing education, which a lot of HBCUs have, with having growing sports programs, with having growing collectives, and having prominent alumni. Like, there is zero shame, like you said, in HBCUs.
It's actually more empowering than anything else in the world if we really take a look at it.
Exactly.
And all of it can work together. And if we all work together, you talk about superpowers. You talk about, you're talking about superheroes. You talk about Wakanda. You talk about, if it could all come together and be used for the same reasons, for the right, like, yes, and we can all hold on to it being all true at the same time, and that there's not one sacrifice over being something else, you know, like, just because, you know, I read and write and do those things really well don't mean I can't run, jump, and catch really well too. No one's ever have to put your talents in a box. And for some reason, we got this notion that all of our, like, no, it only just works here. No, you should only just do that. No, you should only, no, you don't. The world is your oyster. If anything that you want to do and participate in, and you want to put your mind to and commit yourself to, do it. And no one should tell you that you shouldn't. So if you're a five-star athlete in the state of California and you want to go to an HBCU and you go to Howard, do it. Who should tell you that you shouldn't? Who should tell you that you can't? And go be the best version of yourself and be that five-star at that institution all day, every day. You're still a five-star. What's going to validate you between going, because you went to UCLA over going to Howard, that's going to validate you being a five-star? What? Who told you that? Where's that information coming from? And how can they prove that? I think that's got to be more the mindset, and don't feel inferior because you didn't take $100,000 cash, right, somewhere. You know what? I took $60,000 a year education. I took culture. I took a family environment, and I took a $5,000 stipend every 6 months to go play football. I have meals. I have a roof over my head. I got Division I coaching. I got a great education, world-class education in a world-class city like Washington, D.C., where no decision that's made that impacts the world is made less than 2 miles away from me. So what kind of experience that I'm gonna have? I'm gonna have one that's very enriching. I'm gonna have one that's gonna far stretch the next 4 or 5 years of my life, that's gonna impact the next 30, 40 years of my life. Who wouldn't do that? And why wouldn't you wanna do that? So I think for me, man, don't feel inferior about choosing this. And I think you're right. It's grown people, it's adult people that impact sometimes young people's decisions. And I think they all have to see it a different way. And look at it from a different set of lenses than most do. So obviously we're talking about change that's going to take a long time, but you see some of it here. And one of the great things about being here at Howard is you see those changes manifesting itself every day, in every situation, in every interaction. I mean, we've had more top players from this area, from this region at our spring practices this year than we've ever had. And I think that's some of the fallout of the transfer portal. I think that's some of the fallout of NIL. I think what you're going to have now is this new awakeness of young talented athletes going, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to do that to feel successful. I don't have to do that to feel, acknowledged. I can do this and get the same thing and more. And so you're seeing more of that. And I think that's going to continue to have that trickle-down effect to where you're going to see HBCUs be back where they used to be when the Jerry Rices and Walter Paytons and those people of the world were choosing that. And the NFL and other people in corporate America and NIL ain't going to be in a position to ignore it. Because that's what they want, that's what they're looking for, so guess where you got to go find it? Historically Black College or University.
Travis Hunter.
Right? And the list could go on.